Yes, everybody, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. Going to give you guys a Twitter react, see what the fans have to say. Of course, Dave and I will give our opinions on these various tweets, but do smash the like button and do let us know what you thought of the game and whether you agree with any of these tweets, whether you disagree. I have a good mix here, and unfortunately, maybe not as many funny tweets as I would like to have, but that's the case sometimes when you end up losing a game that you definitely wanted to win. Patty saying, takes from today, performance was shocking. Some players in this team just aren't good enough. Atmosphere was poor, a chance to go to second and folded like normal, not aggressive enough, and Frank has a big job on his hands. I still have to be persuaded if he's the man to bring us forward. Well, Patty, maybe starting to get a little bit skeptical about Thomas Frank. That is kind of the disappointing bit is I was amazed to see that. Like if we had won against Villa, we would have been 2 points off of Arsenal, which is just crazy to think about. Because then, if we had a better performance than against Bournemouth, you're like, dang, we actually could be challenging for the top of the league, in this opening period. But now that we lost, all of a sudden Villa, or I think Dave pointed out, like only 3-4 points behind us, and they were in 13th. So it was a huge chance missed today from Tottenham
Yeah,
Hotspur. And I think most of the points that he brought up there were relatively true.
yeah.
The Spurs watch saying if Kudus does not play like Messi and Danzo's long throws don't work, then we don't score. What is the plan? Is that Thomas Frank's fault, Dave? Because I feel like, again, we're sort of saying, there needs to be a better plan. But I think the plan has been, to try to win the ball high up, especially this last game. We were pressing high. We did get good transitions. We did have good counterattacks and moments. And we had the ball in decent areas in the final third. It's just, we don't really do much with it. And the players that seemed to shine the most were, Mr. Long Throw Danzo and Mohamed Kudus. But I don't know if that's Frank's problem.
That's not Thomas Frank's problem. At the end of the day, you know, Wilson Odegaard, people go, oh, he looks bright. But if you go back and look at appearances made under Postecoglou, I remember against Man City, he
Yeah.
ripped them down the left-hand side one game. But he has no end product off the back of it. So
Yeah.
we're not seeing any progression from last year to this year. Matisse Tell, he's declining. He's getting worse. At least last year he made connection with the football. This year he's struggling to even kick the football. The likes of Richarlison. I mean, the guy is unbearable to watch at times. He's so frustrating. Like that's not on Thomas Frank. He brought him on, gave him his opportunity, gave him minutes. All these players be knocking on the door, especially these four players. Boss, I need minutes. I need to find my confidence. Well, he's giving them minutes, but none of them are producing. That's not on Thomas Frank. I think the only fair question would be to make: how long does he persist with the 4-2-3-1 or whatever you want to call it, the
Yeah.
4-3-3? Does it what At what point does he maybe revert and look to what he done against PSG as a way to circumvent it?
Mm,
And look to try something different. And I think if you were one of those that preached that Frank was the answer to all of our problems, that he's this great tactical guru who's going to develop players and stuff like that, and
surely
now
he'll
it's not
figure it out.
working out,
Yeah.
you know, well, I can understand if they're a bit disappointed that maybe he hasn't, because when we were signing this guy, I did come out and I said, hang on, the guy isn't the solution to all of our problems. We are going to need a massive transfer window, especially across the front line, to massively help Thomas Frank. I said I have no doubt the guy's going to come in, make us defensively sound. He's done that. I have no doubt he's going to come in and make us dangerous from set pieces and stuff. He's done that. My big question around Thomas Frank was, but can he make us a good team to watch in possession? I think he's
Mm,
done a decent job of that. I think the build-up play out from the back from the two deep line midfielders is fine. The problem is the front line, but that comes down to quality. That's
yeah.
just a quality issue. There's no way you can blame Thomas Frank for that. And I think people should learn from their lessons. They blamed Andrew Postecoglou for it last year. It's boring. All he does is get them to run to the byline and pull the ball back.
Mhm.
Well, we're seeing the same limitations. So at what point do you go, it's a quality issue rather than keep blaming the guy in the dugout? The
Yeah.
problem is we're looking for the guy in the dugout to be this savior of the football club, because the reality is the biggest secret in the room is when we bring these guys in, we know the squad ain't up to scratch.
Yeah. Charlie Simmons needs to fix up too. Was so excited for him coming, and it feels like each game goes, he's getting less and less confidence. Dean Sinclair saying he doesn't receive the ball in good areas. Paulinho and Bentancur play sideways and backwards. I don't think it was Bentancur or Paulinho's fault, to be honest, for why Xavi Simmons couldn't get into the game. I don't think it's totally Xavi Simmons' fault for why he couldn't get into the game. They clearly were blocking up the midfield and making it very congested. And Dave mentioned this during the watch along. He was being man marked by Onana very well. So I think it ended up having to be where it was going to be the wingers that needed to sort of get into the game. It was going to be the striker that needed to find a way to get into the game. Palhinha and Bentancur, I actually thought were pretty brilliant on the day. I thought they won the ball back in some really good areas. I thought defensively they put in some really great challenges for us. There were so many times where Villa tried to break past us, and Palhinha would put in an expert tackle. Bentancur was leading the press. So I'm again very surprised that Palhinha and Bentancur are being called out for being the worst performers.
It's
I
it's
actually thought they were fine.
it's mind-boggling, Jack. At the end of the day, Unai Emery has set his team up centrally, the spine of it, absolutely solid. Where you get asked at Aston Villa is usually out wide at their two fullbacks. You can get at them. I'm not being funny, but with Onana man marking Xavi Simons, what do you want Bentancur and Pellegrini to do? Keep punting it into him? Look at the physical mismatch that is.
Yeah.
He's going to ragdoll the guy around the place. He's going to lose the ball every single time you put it in there, especially when Onana is up his hole. It's not like Simmons managed to get a 5-10 yard separation. He just didn't. Every time Simmons moved in the first half, Onana was literally in his shorts. There's nothing you could do. So at the end of the day, they had to put it sideways because Simmons couldn't get free to receive the ball. And I think that's the big problem. And again, people are putting problems from further up the pitch back on these guys, and I think it's becoming a boring narrative. To be honest with you, Jack, it's becoming boring. At the end of the day, if we had the option centrally, to be able to punt into, and to be honest with you, if they trust the guy in the number 10 to be able to get hold of the ball and hold it up, then maybe you might start seeing it. But until then, it's going to keep happening going out wide.
Gus saying Monaco, Everton, Newcastle, Chelsea. Frank better figure out some variety quickly or it's not looking good. Pop Matasar and Bergval, even grade, need minutes. Lack of central progression and cohesiveness. Long periods of giving the ball away cheaply. Over reliance on set pieces. It's looking bleak.
I mean, it's amazing the way things change after one game. It was only before the international break everyone was saying, Dave, stop talking about problems. You don't know what you're talking about. And I tried to say, we've got tough fixtures coming up. I'm seeing some early warning signs. The same problem's going to be here this season. And now all of a sudden, everyone's lighting fires everywhere. It's amazing how things just change after one game.
Funny thing is, I actually think you've been a bit calmer about the result than some of the way that people have reacted today. It's almost like you went a little bit early, and then all of a sudden, you've been a bit more
But
praiseworthy.
it's not a new talking point to me. I'm not outraged by it because I've sort of been speaking about it for weeks now.
Yeah, but now all of a sudden, everyone's just gone fully towards the other spectrum. The Spurs watch, I beg people on here, except that some of our players just aren't good.
Yep.
We have one good attacker in the club, and that's Kudus, and the rest are bang average or bad average. That's where I'm lying. I think the midfield, for the most part, we have good players in there. I think the defense is absolutely top class. I just feel like the big issue is with the forward line. I would agree with the Spurs watch there.
And once people realise that, we'll stop blaming the manager. We'll put pressure on the Lewis family to deliver something here in January.
Yeah. Paddy Power, Tottenham fans booing Matty Cash for a bad tackle he made in 2023. It's that sort of pettiness which makes football the greatest sport. There is a complete great tweet from Paddy. Our home support is effing awful at the minute, says Jay. And then Talk THFC said probably because the football being served up is diabolical. I think it's just results based, really. To be honest, we've played so many bad games and had so many bad results at home. I just don't think fans are going into the stadium with any sort of bit of confidence. But I think you also agree, Dave, with the fact that sometimes the football that's being served up has been pretty poor. So that's also why fans aren't really just that keen on just getting up for it, I guess.
Well, I think the football that's being served up is pretty poor, but also I think, the underlying problem is many fans do know the limitations of the front line, which leads to a lack of belief in terms of being able to take maximum points from games, especially when the opposition score, because we don't have 2 goals in us. It's usually, if we win games, it's usually by a goal margin and stuff like that. So I think what you're seeing then is fans, as soon as a team score, go, well, that's our game over. We don't have the ability to be able to come back. We don't have the creativity. We don't have the clinicalness in the front line to be able to pull something out of this game. And that's where you're seeing the atmosphere sort of decline in that regard. And again, you can keep blaming fans, but I said it in the post-match reaction. You're not going to keep going. If you keep going to a takeaway and they keep serving you up shit burgers, you're not going to go home and go, well, do you know what? Maybe if they just bring in a new chef and develop him and stuff like that and keep going back, you're just what I mean? It's madness. At the end of the day, it's up to Tottenham Hotspur to give the fans something to buy into again.
Same ingredients, but the different chef. Lily White Lab saying absolutely cowardly from Thomas Frank. Result is 100% on him. We're losing, and you take off our number 10. What's crazy is Lily White Lab, I think, has gone a little bit overboard to call Frank a coward after this game. But
Uh,
also to say the result is 100% on him, I think he definitely takes some blame. Maybe the way that he set up the team initially with Xavi Simmons through the middle, also as well. Maybe the substitutions just taking a bit too long. To be honest, I could definitely put some blame on him there. But to say
look,
to call him a coward and to say the result is 100% on him, I mean, giving no responsibility to the players, kind of insane to me.
it is insane. Look, I don't know the guy. I do watch some of his content, but I'm not surprised when you see, titles, over sensationalizing a lot of the players we get or that we've signed, that they're going to be a game changer. They're going to be this. They're going to be that. I can understand why he's then blaming Thomas Frank, but the reality is the elephant in the room is the players. Some of the players just are not good enough.
Yeah,
We're
and I
overhyping them. You're expecting too much. The quality, what people are saying about these players, about them being this game changer and everything else, you don't see it reflected on the football pitch. It's in your mind.
hmm. Michael Hamilton saying it's safe to say Tottenham Hotspur is not a fortress. Tottenham
Yeah.
Hotspur Stadium, no. Timothy, Thomas Frank, you are disappointing me more and more every week. Shocking setup, shocking system, shocking subs. I wouldn't be mad if the problem wasn't obvious, but it has been for months. Stop playing that pivot.
You could have just copied and pasted that from Jose, Conte, Postacoglu. Fans were saying all the exact same shit. At what point do you realize the quality of the squad matter? There's only so much a manager can do. We've been through this cycle 5, 6 times over like 8 years. Fucking hell, when are we gonna wake up and smell the coffee, Jacko?
How many teams do play a pivot though? Like if there's, it's not like the pivot in football is naturally the problem. Like
It
I
was
think
good enough for Pochettino with Dembele and Wanyama.
yeah, seriously. And then also, like, when you look at last season, everyone was like, oh, the defense, the midfield, it's so easily run through. We need to have, a real number
Yep.
six, back there. And now, like, we do. And we have Bentancur and Paulinho there. And they've been winning the, like, how many times did Paulinho and Bentancur win the ball back for us in areas where Aston Villa were trying to course through our midfield? I thought they actually, defensively, the two of them, I thought they had a great game, to be honest. I think Bentancur did really poor on that second goal, just not closing it down. But seriously, those guys won the ball back for us time and time and time again. The forward line just did nothing with it when it was brought into them. So again, I'm
Okay,
I'm
this
just
is the thing.
surprised that this is somehow a system issue.
We're looking to blame everybody else but the actual problem. Like, it's embarrassing. We see people defending Brennan Johnson on the weekly for just tapping the ball in from 6 yards. I can honestly hear Matisse Tell is going to be this. Wilson Odobur looks bright. Richarlison if this, that, and the other. The forward line is shit. We spent 200 odd million right across the forward line, and we got it wrong. These players that people think they are in their heads, the reality of what we're seeing on the football pitch does not add up. Frank has come in, defensively solid, midfield not being ran through, solved them problems, but we're getting the same problems in the forward end. And because they're so lackluster, and I said this in the watch along, it makes everyone else look shit. And that's the problem. That is the huge problem at this football club. So instead of sitting there defending them for all the things they don't do, just call a spade, and we'll I guarantee you would identify the problems a lot quicker, and then we'd end up being able to put the pressure on the club to solve the problems a lot quicker. But if we keep going, well, this is a pie, and you deserve 5%, you deserve 3%, you deserve 7% of the blame, you're never going to fix the fucking problem.
The other thing too, just to mention, I think we won a Europa League final with the double pivot. We had Basuma and Bentancur, playing expertly together as a double pivot. That was part of the reason I think we looked a lot better in the Europa League is we went that tad bit more defensive in the midfield where we didn't have just one lone six. We had two guys sort of playing next to each other defensively in Basuma and Bentancur. And I think we've improved on that by bringing someone like Paulinho in. So again, to say that the pivot is the problem, I think it's the least of our problems, if you ask me.
People were asking for something like that last year, and now we get it. Now
Yeah,
they don't
now it's the
want it.
problem.
It's always the way.
Zeus, can Vicario save a shot from outside the box, please?
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair point.
Billy, Frank says Udogi misses out with a minor irritation in the
Yeah.
knee. See you in 8 months, brother,
This is
says
what me
Billy.
and you felt like as soon
Yeah.
as we read the
I
news
don't,
before the game.
anytime I think minor, I think it's major. Hotspur reports, is this worse than the Wolves result? I think the
No,
performance was better than the Wolves one, to be honest. I think the Wolves one was worse than this.
The Wolves was worse. The reason why Wolves was worse is because they did fail to score goals coming into the game, had no points in the Premier League coming into the game, no wins, and they got slapped up by Sunderland off the back of the international break, or who I think it was Sunderland they got slapped up by. The Wolves one was way worse, and that's
We didn't
why
create very much against Wolves either.
exactly Aston
Yeah.
Villa are a much better team than Wolves, so it was always going to be a more difficult game. That's why I never sat there and happy clapped. We drew at Wolves. Be happy, because better teams, you're not going to get away with it, and we've seen that today. The fact that that's even a question is absolutely mind-boggling.
I think we created more in this game than we did against Wolves, to be honest, which is maybe a sad indictment of that performance against Wolves. These three solve a lot of our recent problems. It isn't rocket science. It's as clear as sun in the clear blue sky. I mean, Kinski being the solution, I'm not too sure. I'm not going to try to, exempt Vigario, but I don't think Kinski is the solution to all our problems. But I don't know. I think maybe getting a Sar back into the team could help a little bit because Sar was in terrific form until, he had that injury and had to be
Yeah,
dropped.
Sar is a player I'd look at putting back in that number 10. Any goals we've scored up until the point he was dropped, he was involved in like 98% of them. That's actually statistically true. But what my biggest worry is, we're looking for midfielders and goalkeeper to solve our problem going forward. When are we
Yeah,
going to realize the problem?
is the
Look, at the end of
forwards.
the day, at the end of the day, we can sit here and say Kinski's the answer. Ali Gold from Football London put an article out Friday stating that behind the scenes, people are concerned that he is regressing.
Yeah.
Also, Bergval, I'm not being funny, came off the bench today. Did he do anything? No.
Mm,
All he done was give away free kick after free kick after free kick. And to that fact, if you want me to be absolutely honest, Sarr didn't do anything off the bench today either.
yeah.
But the reality is, none of them three players there are going to score you 20 goals a season or set up about 10 to 15. That's Tottenham's problem.
I think if they showed a picture of Semenyo or something, maybe that would actually be the one that would solve our problems. Mitch Fretton, three absolute gems in Sar, Bergval, and Gray sitting on the
Oh my
bench. By
God.
the way, I mean,
Have we not seen the problem with youngsters in the forward line? We want to bring in more.
everyone,
I'm not being funny.
every single tweet is about the midfield, not about the
I'm
forward
not being
line today.
funny. Bergval played how many games in the midfield last year? We finished 17th in the league. Gray played how many games last year? We finished 17th in the league. Let's get real here. They are not the answer. We know that because they played last season. They're not the answer. The answer is Madison coming back from injury, Kulusevski making himself fit. They're the answers, not kids. When we had all the injuries last year and the kids played, we couldn't win a game of football, and we want to resort back to it. What are we doing here? Am I losing my mind? Honestly, am I on a
Every
different
single,
level?
maybe I shouldn't have done this Twitter reacts because I'm just going to make Dave upset. But literally, the amount of tweets that aren't about the forward line in this game really did shock me. Tottenham independent transfer stories, just hoof it to kudos and
Yeah.
effing defending.
Yeah.
Lily White Lab, I don't want to send you off a roof here, Dave, but sorry, this just isn't acceptable, man. He's doing Bentacore's pass map. Again, I don't think Bentacore was the issue today. I feel like, if anything, he was probably one of our best pressers, defensively one of our best players. He was leading the press, won the ball back in amazing areas. And then he didn't really, do much wrong, I felt like, in sort of trying to slow the game down, bring a bit of tempo towards it. It seems like people have a bit of this FIFA mentality where you have to play forwards all the time. I think Bentancur did a fine job of, sort of bringing a bit of calm into the game, especially in that first half. Again, I'm just surprised that Bentancur is somehow the issue in this
For
game.
me, it's just like, okay, question why there isn't arrows going forward into the central areas. Because Matisse Tell couldn't get free to get on the ball.
And they
Xavi
blocked
Simons
up the whole midfield.
couldn't get free to get on the ball. So you then asking these guys to pump balls into areas where there's no one free and give away possession?
I mean, they played like 5 midfielders in there, Aston Villa. There weren't really that many chances to
Not
play
rocket
ball
science.
forward into the midfield. It's just
When they block up the middle, the game is out wide. It's not rocket science. Football's an easy sport, by the way.
Here's another blue tactico, just like Lily White Lab, saying Odebear is so good. He's getting more and more confident. His talent is absolutely undeniable. We're witnessing the start of a special player for sure. I like Wilson Odebear, but I think this is a little ridiculous. It's again, these.
Be interesting to see if he's one of the ones blaming Thomas Frank for today's defeat.
Jake saying Jet Spence rallying up. No, maybe that's actually from a previous one that we liked, but there it is. I didn't want to make it too long, and I also didn't want to hurt Dave's brain cells that much because I know he's got a birthday to go celebrate. But everybody, let us know if you disagree with us, of course. Feel free to in the comments. And also, if you really want to have your say and chat with us and offer a different opinion or share your own opinion, feel free to come on the fan show on Monday. And after that, we'll see you next time. Come on, you Spurs. Hit the
Come
like
on, you
button on your
Spurs.
way out. Peace, everybody.